So let's take some questions. I like questions. What do you guys got?
Hey everybody, it's Dave. I'm back with the Maker Zone, and I'm very honored today to have Douglas Azar here with me. We met over at the F10, which is a local incubator in Zurich run by SIX, the Swiss Stock Exchange, and
That's
Andreas
right.
E10 and the team
Yeah.
introduced us. You guys went through kind of like a midterm presentation that I saw, and you want to say hi? And
Sure, yeah, hi, yeah, it was basically the opening of the F10, so it was on Monday, and yeah, we had all the startup pitching. It was like a kind of a big event for the start, and yeah, I think we had a good time.
So he's a very experienced guy. He's worked in all kinds of banks all over the world. So very much our culture of people in terms of, future wealth management. Giorgio Zanetti's also here. You guys know him from other videos that we've done, part of our innovation team. And this is another real vetting of a startup. I think that people enjoy this from the comments I've gotten. To see how we actually work together with startups. So without all the PR and hype around banks and startups together, I don't know what your business model is, to be honest. I saw you on stage for 3 minutes, which isn't fair. I couldn't ask you any questions.
Sure.
And I know that you're like super into what you're doing. So I kind of want to understand, what's the value prop behind your company? It's called Wealthinitiative, right?
That's correct, yeah.
Why don't you talk about how it started for you?
Yeah, sure. So the company was, I started the company like 1 year ago at the end of the day, so I've a background into like wealth management for 12 years. And the story is Wealthinitiative. For me, it's really a question of creating synergies among clients. I do believe that the next generation, it's not about like selling products or anything. It's like just creating an ecosystem with all the clients. At the end of the day, the most important asset of a bank is the client base, and it's like not exploited, right? At the end of the day, there's no connection or anything, so I feel like it's a bit unexploited.
What are the things that you're targeting to do with those?
So basically, it's like it's more like trading. So you have 4 like categories. The first one would be the real estate, which is a big market, right? Last year was 650 billion. Then you have passion investment, which is growing at 10% per year. So it's massive, right? Could be like anything with classic cars, rare watches, fine wine, boats, aircraft, and other high-end collectibles. And then you have the art story. So 60 billion last year, so growing as well. Mostly done with the auction houses and the higher fees. So if you can cut this whole intermediary story, would be great. And the last one is business deals. So any like client who wants to sell like, let's say 10-20% or even the full company, you want to find another client, so they do the matching basically. It could be like for business deals, so I want to sell like part of my company, or it's, I don't know, like some person wanted to expand in Asia, so you're going to find the right fit in Asia, right? I guess like UBS has a lot of clients in Asia, so somebody wants to expand his business of, I don't know, some shoes, you're going to find the partnership in Asia to bring this business worldwide. So that's going to be a partnership.
I've seen people try to bolt this together in various ways before. I mean, this is not new to me, right?
Okay.
Any one of those. I've seen art attacks, I've seen collectibles attacks, but I've never seen it tried to be all strapped together. The most successful to me seems to be, private equity investing types of circles of people together. But how did you, tell me about you, like how did you try to put this all together and why?
Okay, so at the end of the day, I'm passionate about art and anything to do with collectibles and passion investments. I'm a speaker at conference on the topic, as an investment. I do believe like 10 years ago it was not the case, but now really like clients buying art and passion investment, they want to have a return on this. So now it's part of the portfolio of a client. So I think it's very silly that all the banks, take care of the liquid asset like shares, bonds, but at the end of the day, they like forego all this passion investment and art, which is at the end an investment, right? Everybody talks about art and investment. There was a Deloitte report saying that I think 80% of the clients do consider art an investment. So the whole thing for me is part of the portfolio. So I think it's super silly that they're going to go to Christie's or Sotheby's or any other auction houses and pay like 20% to buy and sell their art, and they could do like super quickly and more efficiently with banks, through banks, because it's part of the portfolio. And then you have a couple of steps in the whole thing. At the end of the day, what I want to do is like to put this asset in the portfolio of the client with the valuation, with insurance, with a mix of insurance companies and our
That's what you want to do.
At later stage, yeah. So first stage is to create synergies within one bank. Second step is to connect banks, member of the platform. Then third step is to have the asset in the portfolio, to have a holistic view of the portfolio. So basically, if you have a yield, it's going to be 10 million, it's going to be in the portfolio. So you can see like the diversification of the portfolio, increase the asset under management for the bank, increase the loan to value for the client.
Right.
And and then it's going to.
But do clients actually? So you've done design thinking with potential clients about this, right? So do they see their art as really a passion investment? You didn't put it in that category, but it's something they care about, or is it more a financial investment? Or are there two different groups of clients?
I would say like now it's 80% when you buy art above like 100K, 80% of them see it as an investment as well. So it's a bit of more, it's like 20% aesthetic and 80% investment. So when you talk to people, that's why you have so many like art advisors and everything, because at the end of the day, they want to make sure that the art value going to grow, right? They don't want to invest in something that's going to bring like a
But I gotta tell you, I've never met a bank or a banker who doesn't believe in this. And yet when it comes to putting money where the mouth is, in terms of like launching big services on this, I haven't seen it in the industry. Why do you think that is?
I think it is new. I think it's coming. You know, once again, 10 years ago, there was nothing. Art was art, and what was Renaissance, or like everybody was, everything was aesthetic. But now it's really like, it's, you know, you have indices, right? I think Sotheby's just bought like May and Mo's index. So now you track art with equities, for example. So you track the correlation between art and equities and bonds. You want to decorrelate your portfolio. So the whole thing for the past like 10 years now is really an asset class.
Like old masters, you can trade an ETF on that, or like what do you
Not there's no ETF. So at the end of the day, you have to have a basket. You have to go to a fund. So you have a couple of things you can do when you want to invest in art. Either you buy a piece, you buy the share. Sotheby's, for example, is traded on the stock market. You can go for investment fund, but they're going to charge kind of like 5% or like 3 to 5% management fee. So it's kind of expensive. It's long term, you know, 5 to 10 years, not liquid, so it's not the best. And you really have to trust the fund manager, right? If the fund manager is not doing a good job, you're kind of in a bad position.
I know we're too stuck on art, and it's one of the 4 value props in Wealth Initiative, but like one of the things that bothered us in our research about artwork is most people take this stuff and they do treat it as an investment, and it ends up in a warehouse somewhere, right? So a bonded warehouse, and it just kind of collects dust if it doesn't end up on a wall in Miami in this third house, right?
Yeah.
What's your view on that? Like, couldn't we make financial products out of artwork where you have the right to loan it to your house in Miami, but actually you're not the sole investor in it, so you have...
No, that's a big topic. I think it's a great question. At the end of the day, okay, if you compare art with fixed income, art is not bringing any revenues, right? You're going to pay the insurance price, which is exactly... So at the end of the day, what we will try to do is like just lend this piece to a museum to get some cash flows, right? So the museum is going to pay to exhibit the art. So that could become a cash flow, like to get like some similar as a bond, you know. So you need to have cash flow, and then it's like a kind of not a chicken and egg situation, but you're gonna have cash flow, and the best is gonna have increase in value because it was shown somewhere, you know. If you put your art like in a like I don't know, maybe here, nobody gonna really like see it, right? If you put it in a museum, you're gonna have articles and everything, and it's gonna increase in value. So it's really like it's going together at the end of the day. You have a couple of studies on this, you know, the more you show your art and the more it increases in value, that's normal, right? It's a matter of marketing a bit, so you can do a lot of things, you know, and I think it's great. Even you can like borrow art, you know.
But I think most people watching this right now, if you're from the banking or consulting industry, you say, yes, absolutely, but now how do we attack that, right? Because to me, the thing about, I want to make this part of the valuation of the share of wallet of the client and show him the value, it's like boring for me. Like, I don't necessarily want the value of my artwork on my statement. I want the advisor to see my big picture, though. The picture that I see.
So many times, you know, I saw that like a client with a big collection and like a couple of equities, you know. Yeah. And I think the balance of the portfolio is not correct. The advisor is going to tell him, say, oh, you're underweight, I don't know what. But he doesn't know that he has some art, you know. So you have to take everything together to really advise the client, right? For me, it's part of the portfolio. So you can say, okay, you have like 100 million worth of art, so now it's time to go into a bit of fixed income to decrease the correlation and build really a strategy around this, you know. Otherwise, if you don't know that you have some art, like 2 yachts and 4 houses, how do you
aren't clients investing in art because of the characteristic of it? So it's kind of, the value is not really well defined, so, you know, if they want to pass it to the next generation, they're not taxed. Isn't this, you know, blurriness around art something that goes in the advantage of the clients? Do they really want transparency? Do they want?
I think more and more. That's a good question. At the end of the day, are the clients will be super open, saying, "Okay, I have this piece, yeah. But I do think this is the trend now. They're really saying what they have, and if for them it could improve the return on asset or improve the whole portfolio story, I think they would do it. Yeah.
But I'm with you. I have the same doubt, right? So, you know, with artwork, it seems super tricky. I'm not a lawyer, but some of the feedback that I've heard before is once that sucker is in the digital world, everybody knows I have it, everybody knows where it is, everybody knows what it's worth, and therefore I may have issues that I don't necessarily need, right? Because I invested in this because I love it, rather than I wanted a cash flow or a return, and therefore that's something to consider.
That's fine, but for me, the most important when you talk about art, you know, it's like provenance, right? For me, that's what the 4th step of my platform is, to have some blockchain on this. For real estate, I think it's super important. And you have to have a provenance and origin. Otherwise, I think it's a bit tricky, you know. So once it's on the blockchain, everybody could trade this, and it would be much safer then. Then
Yeah.
another like
We've had the same thought, but I got to put in the blockchain buzzer right here. Ready? You know, like that is for us so distant. First, we've got to figure out how to trade basic financial instruments before having provenance of art on the blockchain. But maybe I'll surprise myself. But it seems
true.
like
No, I
voting
do agree.
systems will
I
be
do agree, but
blockchain before.
yeah, no, as
artwork.
you said, like blockchain is like a big topic nowadays. But
Yeah.
for this kind of asset, for me, real estate, that's key. You know, to have this blockchain, especially on art and passion investment, you have to have this traceability. Otherwise, it's a bit dodgy, and the price of an art piece can decrease in value because the certificate is like.
All right, but
kind of-
before we get intangible, like
Yeah.
you're trying to launch a business, you're a startup, you
Yeah.
have limited capital,
True.
limited time,
Correct.
on the four vectors besides artwork, which is the highest potential in the shortest time frame that you can make money off of. So collectibles, artwork, real estate, or
I think the
what's the
sexy-
fourth
sec-
one?
That's business deals.
Business deals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. So art passion investment is one. That's a tough one. That's really have to be like in the mentality. Real estate and business deals are easy ones. So if you have all
It's liquid. It
exactly,
exists.
it's kind
Yeah.
of liquid and like I think the average high net worth individual has like 3 houses. So at the end of the day, it's available. So you have to put it on the platform. So that's going to be the
So
low-hanging
attacking
fruits,
real
yeah.
estate is the first kind of sub.
So at the end of the day, I do like everything because the thing about like Wealth Initiative is about synergies, you know. So I want to make sure that you have the synergy on everything. But real estate would be maybe the key one to start.
Okay, so
with.
are you trying to go B2B or B2C or both?
No, it's a B2B. It's a B2B. So synergies among one bank, then synergy across banks, and then I'll go like and target the family offices maybe in like 1 year, 1.5 years.
So
I
for
want
us,
to-
we call that open finance. So you're trying to work across the banking system,
Yeah.
across providers.
Yeah, but that's in different step, right? So you have like small banks. Let's
So
forget about
you're gonna white label it to UBS, Credit Suisse on the
Exactly.
platform in this first
Yeah.
stage, and then there's gonna be an internal marketplace for clients only.
exactly.
And then in
yeah.
the second step, clients will be able to interact
Start
with
to
the
merge.
Credit Suisse
And
client.
exactly, and on certain item, you know, I was discussing with one of the largest bank as well, and you can really choose which asset you want to share and which asset you want to keep within. You know, so you are ready
Yeah.
to keep everything, and then the next step, which is going to come soon, hopefully, depending on the funding, is going to be for me. I want the client to be able to access the database. So the banker going to choose if the client will have access or not, but I want the client to flick through all the asset of the bank and see if he wants to buy something and sell something. You know,
But
so
how
it's-
quick can you get real client feedback on this? Have you already got it? Or
Yes, I got like a feedback. For me, the clients are the banks, right? So I'm thinking to banks and clients, like end clients.
that's what I'm worried about. I'm more interested in the end client feedback about this. Like, will they actually pay someone money for this? Have you proven that
Pay in
hypothesis
terms of,
yet?
because they won't pay anything, right? The bank gonna pay for the license,
Mhm.
and then the client won't pay anything. So there's so many times, you know, I had these stories of like somebody selling a yacht and is going through like 10 intermediaries, paying like, let's say 12% fee on intermediaries. It's ending up in a client portfolio in the same bank, which is super silly, right? First you have to look if in your client base you don't have like a buyer, and then you go to intermediaries and everything. But I think the market is so fragmented, it's so expensive. When you trade like stocks, like 10 bips, and to trade one of the assets, you know, it's going to be like almost 20%, which is completely silly. At the end of the day, the client going to be part of a private bank, right? So why going through intermediaries and some...
I have to
kind of-
translate a couple of terms here for people who are watching this who are not from hardcore wealth management or asset management. BIPs are basis points. Google it. It's basically how we measure revenue on any financial transaction that we are an intermediary for. Intermediary kind of means financial intermediaries to most people. Most big banks have financial intermediaries, so they provide services to other smaller banks who provide services to the end clients. So this whole system of banks
Layers,
serving banks who serve end clients, or the clients also are part of the other banks. So it's very intricate. And you know, for me, this is the problem in innovating and creating the future of wealth management. I mean, I think the three of us know that this is what matters to the end clients. But what prevents us from launching it is how will banks actually value that, right? So you say, I help the relationship along.
Exactly.
I give you a 20-year
Yeah.
return. You can't really measure it. It's intangible. How do you get around that when you're trying to sell to a bank?
No, it's easy, right? I mean, the bank really see the potential because the client base is already there, right? It's already like a part of the thing, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? Now it's just a matter of creating synergies within this client base, right? So two kind of scenario you can have. Either it's like a new product for the client. So it's going to be okay. It's a new like added value for the client on prospect. You know, you can tell the prospect we have this platform. It's great. You won't pay like intermediary fee. Come with us, so to attract new clients. And the other side of the spectrum, you can charge a fee. You know, some of the banks tell me, okay, it's good. I'm going to charge 1-2% transactions. So it's going to be a new revenue model for banks, right? They're going to make money on something that was completely outside of the portfolio, which is super silly, right? So it's outside of the portfolio of a bank, so nobody knows about
But
it.
tell me again, how do you tell the bank they're going to make money on something outside the portfolio because
But
they
they can
were
trade it, right?
a piece of that activity?
Yeah, of course. If you like, client London want to sell a boat, right?
Yeah.
Client Singapore wants to buy it.
Yeah.
You do the transaction, you take 2% or 1%, right? So it's
Okay.
a new revenue model, right? You make money on this.
So it's new P&L
Yeah,
that wasn't
exactly.
there before to the industry.
Could be exactly so.
Who
it's
makes that? Who are the competitors to that right now? Who makes that revenue right now?
about
Independent art dealers, independent yacht dealers, or what
Yeah,
is
the arts could be auction houses. Sotheby's, Christie's, Bonhams. You know, they take like seller. They take 10% for the seller, and the buyer has to pay 20%. So 30% total transaction fees, like just kind of messed up, I would say. And otherwise, it's like intermediary fee, like a lot of people are involved. When it's called art, yachts, passion investment, real estate is a bit better, you know. But otherwise, you just ask your friend who's gonna ask his cousin, and everybody's taking 2% of the transaction.
But it's important to realize that it isn't attacking our own vertical because it's revenue outside our vertical. So from a banking perspective,
Exactly, yeah.
we're going after somebody else's
Yeah.
cake today, aren't we?
Yeah, because
That's good. It's an attack. isn't it?
Exactly. At the end of the day, what I see it like the banks are fighting the fintech, right? We want to keep our cake, and now
Well, not everyone.
most of them, right?
Yeah.
Or they're kind of afraid of fintech and everything. And now for me, the same as okay, somebody wants to eat our cake, we're gonna eat the cake of somebody else, which is easy for us because that's our clients, right? At the end of the day,
So you think it's natural part of the relationship?
very natural, yeah.
Okay. So in real estate, what's your first actual attack? Because my sense of it, but I'm probably dead wrong, is your early stage. So you're still in concept car stage. You haven't got any hard sales yet. You've
The
probably launched
prototype
an
is
entity,
ready,
but you're
so
not
the-
commercially
yeah.
viable yet, right?
That's beta phase, and we're talking to banks right now. So I'm part of the F10 accelerator. They're gonna open doors. I had a couple of meetings with banks, and we had discussion. You know, we have some due diligence,
Yeah.
see how the platform works and everything. But so far, the feedback is pretty.
But what do you mean by
Good.
beta? You got something I can play with?
Yeah.
Product?
Yeah.
And how software-y is this? How important is the software to your USP?
That's gonna be I don't say like the weakness, but it's not like amazingly complicated. I want to keep it simple.
Okay,
So the
that's-
design is key. You know, I want to make sure that the bankers are not gonna lose or waste like 2 hours, like Avaloq and other stuff. You know, just you open Avaloq, you want to shut it down after 2 minutes. So the pressing. This platform is nice. You know, you're gonna see it. Nice design, easy to use, and yeah, it's quite efficient. So that's our key metrics, I would say.
Okay. And what else? I'm sure you have more questions right now.
Yeah, what I'm wondering is how do you protect yourself from banks to just copy your model? Because at the end there is no, any patent, how are you gonna
Yeah, that's
protect
a good question. At the end of the day, I cannot. So if you want to take the thing and put it at UBS, it's fine, or in the bank. The only thing he wants to connect to each other, that's screwed, right?
Yeah.
How you connect to other banks? You cannot. So you're gonna do your own synergy among your
Yeah.
own clients, but then you're gonna miss out on some of the stuff. You know, I see it as like an exchange program with universities. Sometimes you can partnership with other banks in certain area.
Yeah.
I think this area could be nice. You know, you want to partner with. You want to filter, I don't want like banks in Switzerland, I just want to connect banks in China, for instance. You do the matching with some banks
So
over
it's
there.
important for your company to establish as a like market leader in this
Yeah,
marketplace.
it's now it's important, I would say, to have like to start with like 3 or 4 banks. If you manage to get 3 or 4 banks doing the match internally,
Yeah.
they have enough offers after 6 months to 9 months to connect them.
Yeah, that's a
And
unique.
that's gonna- exactly,
That's unique. It's key.
So that's
Yeah.
that's yeah.
But
that's
you know
one
there
of the
are
points, yeah.
existing wealth platforms, private equities, and selling my company platforms. There's existing stuff for all of this. So how are you going to compete with them? Because they've been somewhat successful in these spaces. Besides there's an art one as well. So like or a few of them. So like how are you going to compete with them? Because they've been into talk with a lot of the banks already, right?
I'm not
What's
aware of this, but
differentiate-
they do for me. All the company I talk to, they don't want to provide synergies among clients. They're just proposing new asset to clients, right? So the asset going to come not from the client base,
Yeah.
but from somewhere else, right? So it's a bit of a, it's like you're offering your clients something that is available on the market, but it's not really. The added value is very limited, right? Because with this Welsh initiative, you're going to create synergy, so no fees. With the others, you're going to take a fee, right? It's normal. It's like the same as Christie's coming to you saying, "Oh, we
Yeah.
have like paintings to sell."
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, we have painting to sell, but pay the 10% because we are like, it's not like, they are not eliminating the fees.
All right, but it's hard for me because like if I'm to bring this in, let's say it's a real estate thing, then from a bank perspective, who is your exact target to talk to? Is it the real estate product guys? Is it the fund guys who cover real estate? Is it the researchers who cover real estate? It's certainly not the front
No.
office guys who have helped randomly
Yeah.
a client do a real estate deal. You'll never find them, right? So what's your vector to get into financials? I don't get it.
Oh, you mean the person I talk to in banks? That's
Yeah.
going to be innovation and head of credit banking, the two key person. Innovation going to understand the product.
Yeah.
Head of credit banking going to see like commercially it makes sense and we want it. And the two make together, they agree on the thing, and it's.
I'm just trying to help you now. A head of a private bank has a lot of other priorities.
And I do
right?
agree, that's fine. But that's kind of a
GDP
big
is
project,
shrinking,
right? No, I do
interest
agree.
rates are zero.
But everybody-
it's a tough environment,
No,
right?
I know,
How
but
do you
everybody's
do-
talking
make
about
this
this.
urgent?
You know, I read some report that banks are like disapproving,
Yeah.
but you have to do something about it, right? If you're only like downsizing all your team, at the end of the day, it's going to be a kind of sustainable, not a sustainable
This is
world,
that
right?
story, try to create new P&L where it didn't
And now it's
exist.
a matter of trying to bring new asset part of the portfolio, new offering to clients, and try to make money on something that was kind of useless for the banks. And so I don't get it. It's like why? It's part of the asset of the client. So why we take only care of the easy assets like shares and equity, and the others we don't really care, and it's like going to intermediaries. So.
All right, one of my last questions, I think. Why not a partnership with Sotheby's or others in this to try to, or some of the biggest real estate companies?
But they will want some fees, right? They will want to like, what will be the added value for them? Because for me, you know, the assets is coming from the client base, right?
Mhm.
So client A selling to client B. So Sotheby's is going to come in saying, oh, we have this. Somebody wants to buy it, but for me, it's the same. You know, in this case, the client would go directly to Sotheby's. Why going to the bank, right?
Mhm.
That's why it's quite it's quite specific. But
All right.
to have this added value, it should be asset from the bank and the matching story. Yeah, that's how it makes sense. Otherwise, you don't need to go through the bank and you go through some intermediaries.
All right, to be honest, I have respect for it, and I know it needs to be done. I don't know how we make it urgent enough to get done and specific enough to be actionable. So we're gonna have to work on that offline over the next time. I mean, you're in the accelerator now.
Yeah,
You know, we know each other now, so we'll look at that in
Sure.
more detail.
cool.
All right, but I like seeing it. Well, we're not going to put up a live display because you haven't
Yeah.
got a phone with you. But you know, if you want
Thank
to
you
put
very
some
much,
footage of that later, we can do it. But how do people reach you? What's your last call to action? If you had something to ask of the world, what would it be?
Email address, maybe the easiest. Douglas@wealthinitiative.com. That's how it can be reached. And thank you
Okay.
very much for this.
All right. Last comment, Georgie?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for watching. I hope that helps. Real vetting of a startup from a guy who does innovation for a living. All right? Thanks for watching.
So let's take some questions. I like questions. What do you guys got?